Hey, happy Sunday. NFL Week 1 is finally upon us. I am Kelly Stewart, and this is WagerTalk's last call. We have a star-studded show today. We got Chase Michaelson from the Westgate Superbook Risk Room. We've got VR coming in hot with some of that NFL gold. And I mentioned yesterday we had a special guest for NFL questions, the Prez. Lawrence Presman is going to be joining us to answer all of your questions. You guys remember, this show is based on your participation. So whether you're on X, you're on TikTok, Instagram, or of course, our coveted YouTube channel, drop your perspective questions in the chat and we'll try to get to you. We're going to bring in Chase Michaelson first. As I mentioned, I'm going to give him a fun name. Let's call him the Vice President of Risk Supervision. What do you think about that? Is that a good one?
That sounds good. We'll talk to John, see if we can get a wage that's commensurate with that.
New business cards.
Yeah.
No, we always appreciate Chase coming over here to help us out on Wager Talk. Give us a look behind the counter. He's sitting there in John Murray's office, as you can tell by that lovely yellow wall. I'm in my dad's cabin in northern Florida, as you can tell by my lack of background. Chase is going to answer all of our hard-hitting questions this morning. But first, Chase, I got to go through this early slate. We have seen some line moves late here. Let's touch on a couple of those and maybe get some opinions from you on where you think they may end up in the next 58 minutes before kick.
Yeah, well, I mean, the first thing that happened this morning is we had a detainment outside Hard Rock Stadium, which I don't think people were expecting. And so
I see the zip-up with the Miami logo. What are you thinking there?
Yeah. Well, I was a little surprised when I woke up this morning to see that. But so that happened, and then people bet Jacksonville. The sharp groups bet Jacksonville, and a lot of that is they'll bet something if they see news breaking. So any sort of information like that, you kind of get, the way they look at it is you get a free hit on Jacksonville. And they can always take it back if they don't like it. But so right now, we definitely need the Dolphins because we took a lot of money on Jacksonville during that window. The 3.5, we were down to 3, now back to 3.5. So that's how it goes in the morning when you have late breaking news like that.
Yeah, it's always going to get that extra money. Can you explain to some of our newer audience members the real significance between 3 and 3.5 here?
Well, so in the NFL, theoretically, 3 is the most important number because so many games land 3. Because obviously everybody, as you know, loves to kick field goals. So going from 3 to 3.5 or 2.5 to 3, a lot of times is a bigger move than going from, let's say, 4 to 5. Like that half-point move is really important around 3 or 7 and 10 and other numbers, but particularly 3. So when the sharp groups have a chance to snatch up something where they can get on the other side of 3 like that, especially when there's information like that with the Tyreek Hill arrest, that's something that they're always going to get on. So because of that, we went down to 3 because we didn't know, obviously, for a short period of time what was going on with Tyreek Hill, and he's as important of a non-quarterback as you'll ever see to a line. Sounds like he's going to play. Sounds like he'll be fine. Not his first time getting arrested. So we're back to 3.5, but we took a lot of money in that short period of time.
Always good look behind the counter here with Chase Michaelson, Westgate Risk Room Supervisor. If you guys have a question for Chase, drop it in the chat. We've got VR and Prez coming up next. Josh D wants to know, I know the Sharps are on the Vikings, but is there so much confidence on Sam Darnold on the road with half the roster being new? This is a really interesting question, Chase. I did not get involved in this game whatsoever. And the reason why is I'm really adverse to laying money with road favorites. I understand why everybody likes the Vikings here. It kind of makes sense. Give us a little look behind the counter in regards to this game. Are you seeing only sharps on the Vikings, or are we getting a little two-way action late?
It's definitely split. I mean, this thing opened with a long time ago. It was Giants won, and that's no longer the case. But with something like this, where it's one direction or another, I don't think is a huge deal. I'll say this. I don't know if the aversion to Sam Darnold is going to be as strong when you're going up against a team that's not projected to be a great team. So, like, I think people would be more likely to avoid taking the points on the road against, a higher level team than they would. Like, laying one is like, it's, you're basically just betting them to win the game. So I don't think the public views that as a big deal either way. I think you'd get similar action at -1 pick or +1 from the public. It's not the most heavily bet game of the slate, I'm not going to lie. But it's definitely more two-way than other games. There's definitely games which are kind of one-way traffic. I think this will be a game where we won't know until 10 o'clock what we need. And really, we probably won't even know what we're rooting for in this game until we see what happens in other games, because a lot of that's just going to be, okay, which way are the parlays, which way are the teasers, whatever.
That's really funny. I hope this game lands one for the Kelly and Murray show's sake. You mentioned a lot of other big needs in the 1 o'clock Eastern slate. Real quick, Rob Lynch wants to know what caused the line move on the Falcons this morning. I saw it go to 4 and 4.5 in some places. This was 3 for a better part of the summer. We did see some 3.5s early in the week. Late money, short money. What's going on here, Chase?
Yeah, it's late money. It's the market does this. Every Sunday morning it'll go like this. So you'll have sharp money on one side. I think probably there was still people kind of looking at what Pittsburgh's quarterback situation was. I don't know how much, in our opinion, it matters. I don't think that there's a super high opinion of Russell Wilson in this room, but at the same time, it's still a backup quarterback playing. And early in the week, we thought it'd be the starting quarterback playing. So you're going to have some movement there, and some sharps wanted to play the favorite there because they like fading backup quarterbacks on the road. So, I think Justin Fields, there's positives and negatives. I think probably better than the average backup, certainly a starting experience. But at the same
what you're
time,
saying is that if Russell Wilson blows it up, they can always just go to Justin Fields, and a lot of teams are unable to do that. Is that what you're basically implying, that there's not a lot of difference between the two?
I don't see a massive difference in power rating between the two. And when they said Russell was going to be the starter, I was getting questions about, okay, how does this affect season wins and things like that? And I said, not much.
Does it?
I don't see a huge amount of difference between these two quarterbacks. They're in different parts of their career, but both were uninspiring as starters last year. So we'll see. But I think that's the reason for the late movement. Is you'll always see sharp groups try to fade a backup quarterback on the road if they have the opportunity, especially when it's relatively cheap, the 3.5.
Fair enough. Ryan just took my question. Biggest risk today from the Westgate Superbook side of the counter. Give me your biggest need. I know that sometimes these morning games turn into afternoon games, turn into that Sunday night, and even the Monday night game with parlays, with teasers and stuff like that. But as it stands right now, 12:10 p.m. Eastern, 9:10 a.m. Pacific. What is your biggest? What would really hurt the Westgate if it won out one?
We would prefer Arizona to cover. Against
cover, but
Buffalo.
not win.
Win would be great, but just a cover would be. We're not trying to be greedy here, Kelly.
Okay.
We would love a cover there. Win would be great. Like you said, it does kind of sometimes matter what happens in the early slate. I can tell you right now, we'll be rooting for the Rams unless something dramatically changes. We'll be rooting for the Rams tonight. Because we had sharp groups lay 3.5 in that game with Detroit, and then Sunday night, that's kind of what you were referring to a little bit. Sunday night game, typically you'll have money line parlays, teasers, et cetera, all tied to the favorite on that game, and especially a favorite that I think is a popular team. I think people like the Lions. I think a lot of neutral fans kind of root for the Lions because of their history. So we'll have a lot of things tied to the Lions money line, tied to the Lions -4.5, et cetera. So, we'll see what happens based on the first two windows. But my guess is when we run the scenarios at kickoff of that game, that we'll be rooting pretty hard for the Rams.
Okay, let's talk about a couple games. You mentioned greedy. I'm greedy, so I'm going to answer my own question. Oh, B Daddy wants to know, what is the biggest public play today?
Biggest public play.
Is there a public dog with fleas specifically? I'm a little nervous about my Titans pick right now. Let's say that.
I mean, the public is not interested in the Titans. I can tell you that.
Oh, that's great. I love that.
Yeah. Well, you got Caleb Williams, Kelly.
Well, that's why I'm betting the Titans.
It's going to be. I mean, it's 1-2-3 championship for the Bears. That the hype for the Bears is out of control. We'll see what happens today. I don't think there's a lot of public interest in the Titans. A part of it obviously is our location, but we've had a lot of Raiders money, a lot of Raiders money line, Raiders with the points, that kind of thing.
Well, that is going to happen based on your proximity being in Las Vegas. I mean, we saw it with UNLV last week, and UNLV still absolutely throttled Houston. So it's kind of interesting. All right, so if you had to guess the biggest public play, not based on region, you just say, all right, here's who they can't stop betting this morning.
Yeah, Buffalo. That's why we need Arizona.
Okay.
It makes sense. I mean, I get the thinking. Obviously, Buffalo's, been on a good run for several years now. Arizona, this time last year, everybody was talking about Arizona being like the worst team in football. It looked a lot more competitive last year than I think people were expecting. But traveling across the country, early kickoff, this is the kind of thing that people gravitate to. So we've had a lot of public play on Buffalo.
Okay, let's go to the two primetime games really quickly. I want to see what the current lines are. I have my WagerTalk odds screen open on my phone. WT.buzz/odds. We already touched on the fact that they would most likely need the Rams tonight. And I apologize. I want to go to the 4 p.m. slate really quick. Cowboys, Browns, and then let's touch on the Monday night game. Jets down to 3.5 at the 49ers.
Yeah, so the Browns, we don't know what we'll need yet in that game. And the reason is because the time that game is most bet with the biggest money is after people cash their 10 a.m. tickets. The 125 kick allows for that 20 minutes of people cashing their tickets and then letting it roll. As of right now, we need Cleveland, but could easily change. The Cowboys are such a team that obviously drives public conversation, drives public opinion. So you never know what you're going to need, because all you need is one house player who's a big Cowboy fan, and then that totally flips your need. Or you have one house player who's an Eagle fan or a Giants fan or a football commander R-word fan, and all of a sudden you have
hard R fan.
Exactly. Yeah. There's so many people that dislike the Cowboys, so it's kind of hard to say. Right now, we need Cleveland.
Okay.
But that's the kind of thing that one ticket changes.
The reason why I ask is because I used to love long teasers, right? Let's just say I had a place where I could bet them still minus 110. That place is no longer, unfortunately. We had a good really run there. But now you're paying 20, 30, sometimes even higher. So I've really gotten away from the teasers. But sometimes what I like to look at on Sundays is who's everybody going to tease, right? And boy, does that Cowboys, even with the high total, I feel like they're going to be in all of the teaser spots. I just think that sometimes that's a little fishy to me. It makes me think that maybe the Browns win by double digits.
It's interesting you say that. Everybody's excited. Dak Prescott just signed his deal like an hour ago, which I didn't know was a thing you could do day of the game. I feel like he's kind of busy, but I guess he's signing contracts.
I mean, CD last week, Dak today. What are you going to do?
Yeah, exactly. In the summer, though, I mean, this thing was picked for a while, right? So I think that perception has shifted against the Cowboys for a variety of reasons. I think that there's uncertainty outside the organization about Dak Prescott. So perception has shifted against the Cowboys. But like you said, yes, it's a spot that people are going to look to tease. I mean, there's no doubt about that. I don't know if that's not that doesn't factor into our thinking, but when we have a line that's 2 or 3 or 1, we're not really trying to predict if a team's going to win by double digits. That's hard. It's the NFL. You don't have a lot of games like that, so it's hard to pick those games out. That's not really what we're in the business of doing, generally speaking. If we knew that, then we'd make the line 5, and then we would just get hundreds of thousands on Dallas and then just clean up.
There you go.
I don't.
Seems like a solid business plan.
Yeah, exactly. I don't. Yeah, John would love to hear that, right? That we're like have every game for our lungs.
He's just not as risk averse as we are, Chase. Like some of us actually like to gamble. He just likes to take his 10% and go home.
Yeah, well, you know, I mean, these chandeliers weren't built on people knowing exactly what was going to happen. You know, so it's. We'll see.
I would have to agree. We got one more question about the Colts. I am on the Colts, but I was not happy when I woke up this morning, saw the odds screen that had went to 3. Are you guys at 3 currently at the Superbook? And what are we seeing as far as action? Houston Texans at the Colts.
Yeah, we're at 3. We're juiced a little bit Indianapolis's way. You know, we have these minus 108 lines out here in at the Westgate, kind of one of our selling points. But right now we have the Colts minus 110, Texans minus 106 at 3. So that's juiced Indianapolis's way. But yeah, we definitely over the course of the week have gotten more Houston money. It's interesting you say that you like that you're not happy that it's at 3 if you like Indianapolis. Is it you just took 2.5?
So not only did I take 2.5, I like the Colts to win. And usually when I see it go from 2.5 to 3, it means somebody far smarter than myself likes the other side. And it kind of just is not usually good. I like games like yesterday where I have 5.5 with Illinois and then a line just plummets game time down to 3.5. Those are the games that make me feel good. Games that go on to key numbers kind of make me...
Kelly.
Yes. That's the name of the game, Chase.
The whole bookshelf full of CLV behind us.
I am not in my office today, but if I was, you would see the plethora of CLV trophies I have acquired over the years. And our next guest, VR, will talk all about how important it is. But I do not have CLV. No, I do not have a 3 in pocket. I have a 2.5 with the Colts, and I have them in a teaser with Baltimore from Thursday and with the Packers from Friday. So at this point, I'm just like, I'm really high on the Colts. John Murray sold me even further on the Colts. So
I like the Colts.
Okay.
Yeah, I like the Colts. Because these two teams played in Week 18, it was nowhere near this line, right? So I think that, and the Colts almost won that game. So I think the Colts can win this game. I think anybody that tells you they can't is lying to you. And now that we say that, Houston will win by 3 touchdowns. Thanks,
Chase. Appreciate having you on. Chase Marino.
Thanks, Kelly.
13 every single Sunday is going to be here with us on Wager Talk's Last Call. As I mentioned, this show is dictated by you. We have up until kickoff. If you guys keep the questions coming in, we stay here. If the questions run dry, we move on to the next. We're going to bring in great gambler, VR, ace, the man of many names, Gianni the Greek. For some of that gold, I'm just going to let him run. It's just better that way. And also it's easier for me to take notes when he just hits the ground running. Welcome in, VR. One thing I wanted to talk about, because we spoke about it last week, the Westgate Superbook is offering minus 108 on all NFL sides this football season. Talk about how significant that is.
Dude, you can't get better. I mean, if you get 105 in 2024, you're doing the best job possible. But just being able to walk into a spot and get 108 without having to negotiate it, Kel, is so rare. Because that's what I constantly do. You know, I get accounts and I move. And I try to get even a penny off. Give me 109. Because just the money adds up so much. Unless you're only placing one bet, then it doesn't matter. But if you're constantly going to be betting multiple games today, multiple games tomorrow, multiple games next week, next month, next year, that penny on the dollar adds up a lot more than you realize. Like, you don't think about it when you're placing individual bets, but when you look back and you look at your last 1,000 bets and you realize, oh my God, I saved 2 cents on every dollar on those, it adds up. And the lower the house edge is, the less your winning percentage needs to be profitable. Again, they could juice it to where none of us win. Remember that. If all the books go to minus 120, there will be no betting syndicates that are moving steam. They'll just be scalping and middling. So when they're discounting it, take advantage. That's the best you could do as a sports bettor. Get that discounted juice.
Get that discounted juice. Josh D wants to know, Ace, I know you mentioned there was steam on the Bills minus 6.5. Did any groups come back on Arizona?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And here's why. Because Arizona's defense is trash. We know that. Defensive line's trash. Secondary's trash. So Buffalo should be able to do whatever they want to them. offensively. The problem is on the defensive side of the ball. And defense is way behind offense this early on in the season, because you got to remember with that players negotiation bullshit, dude, they don't even practice. They practice like one day a week, no pads, this. So it's a different animal once they get in there in the regular season. The only thing that scares me is that total. It actually helps the Arizona that the total's dropping, because I talked to some sharps that were looking to bet that one over because of the offense of Buffalo. And even though Arizona's not going to want to have a shootout with Buffalo, they're probably not going to have a choice, Kel. That's going to leave the back door open for this Arizona team, because they will score points this year. That's the scary part. I couldn't lay it with the Bills. I'm taking it up to 7 + 7 because it's discounted now since the 6.5 is juiced on the Bills. And I leaned over, but I got to respect that move on the under. So I'm passing on the total, but I do like the Cards with the touchdown.
Okay, what else did you guys play late? I know that what I like about this show is that Sunday mornings are kind of like a feeding frenzy, right? Multiple sharp groups go back and forth. Maybe they disagree about a game, but tell me some games that they both. I don't mean both. You're working for multiple groups, but most of them would agree on for this Sunday. Maybe they laid it earlier in the week and they're coming back on another side. Something real interesting. People love to hear about the setups as well.
Definitely the Jaguars side, multiple groups, and it's the new defensive scheme that you're expected. Now, that may take a little time, which is what worries me, but I saw multiple groups jump in. This is a tough matchup for them, but getting over that 3 with an improved offensive line that's expected, I wasn't surprised to see the Jacksonville money come in and the over money come in as well from the betting syndicates. They expect a lot of points from both these teams, and they're betting this one over. I got the Jaguars plus the points. I haven't touched the total yet. If I could get a 49, I probably will, but it's juiced to 49.5 with the juiced over, so we may be forced to sit that one out. A couple other ones real quickly. The Steelers getting the 4, even though it's surprising me because I'm not seeing that the wise guy money reflected in the line, but I could promise you it's there. It's there on the Steelers. It's also there on the over as well. Every time that under comes down to that 42 range, someone's there to pick it off. That's why you're looking at 42.5 across the screen. Another one that's a little later that you touched on was the Titans and the Bears game. The over for sure in that one, because Titans are going from a run first offense to more likely a pass first offense. So that should now improve. And over with the Bears, they came into the season. That's all everyone was talking about, how overvalued this team is and how all the adjustments have already been baked into the cake. And I think you're being charged a premium for the Bears. That's why you saw that steam come in on the Titans and also on the over 43 and over 43.5 there. And real quickly, the setup looked like it was the Colts game and the Texans. Here's what I thought, that it's being set up to get the Colts +3, because I saw that Texas money early, Texas on the money line, Texas -2.5. 1.5 too. But when the limits were a little lower, and then when it got to 3, I'm expecting the call to get the nothing but Colts home dogs +3. It never came. The phone never rang, Kelly. So I have no idea. I know there's some sharps that do like that Colts side, but I can promise you it's not being reflected by the betting syndicates. That's why you're still seeing that 3.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was afraid of and was explaining to Chase when we were talking to look behind the counter there at the Westgate. We also spoke about teasers. Greg wants to know if you have a teaser for today, VR. And also, can you explain why we've all really gotten away from betting teasers, if you will? I had a guy that was allowing me to do teasers, 2-team teasers -110, and I said, okay, this is great. That is no more. So I've kind of gotten away from teasers. I'm not willing to lay -120, -130. Should I be still in certain situations?
No, and here's one sec. You'll see why.
I love this.
On this show, we bring receipts on this show. You got to have the math behind anything you say. You can't just throw shit out there. Here's the bottom line. When you're using 6-point teasers, okay, by going through the key numbers of 3 and 7, you get the edge. Only though if your juice is fair. And here's what I mean. When you do a 6-point teaser and you get the tease through 3 and 7, okay, your win rate needs to be, okay, above 70%. Like, you have to get to that 70% mark at even money. At minus 120, your break even is 74%. So now you're going a little higher. When you Wong tease, you're going to win about 76% of those long term. So teasing through 3 and 7 will get you about a 76% win rate. Remember, at even money, that break even on teasers is 70.7. At minus 120, it's 74%. So if you're laying minus 120 and you're wonging, you got about a 2% edge over the house. That's amazing. They wrote books and made movies about a blackjack card counting group that had about the same edge. So if you could do that, do it over and over and over again. But once you start laying more than 120, Kel, you no longer have the edge. That now flips back to the house, and you're hoping to be the product of good luck. The one team that's being teased by the most sharps today is the New York Giants. And that scares me because I'm on the Minnesota Vikings. I've been on them since the summer in this game. But Giants are really on every sharp teaser. I see the Giants. I also see the Cowboys being tied into a lot of them, which kind of makes sense. You got a total of 41.5, not a lot of points scored. And you could get this Dallas team up to 8.5 points. It makes sense. So those are the two that are really sticking out from the sharp accounts.
All right, VR, can we get some gold on the primetime game in Lions-Rams?
Yeah, lay the points. This is a huge first game for Detroit. And you're being asked to pay a price, but I don't think it's high enough yet. Sure, would I have liked to got the -3? So now I have to look at 4.5 and decide, do I want to get involved? Probably. I'm hoping to see some Rams money so I could lay 4. I'd be comfortable laying 4 on the Detroit Lions. Again, this is a big enough game for them. They do have the offense to win this game by double digits, and I just don't think the Rams will be able to keep it close in the second half. I think Detroit starts to pull away, and get that double-digit win over the Rams.
All right, VR. Appreciate the Sunday edition. Thanks, Wager Talk from Titan Seats. We always appreciate VR coming in, dropping some of that gold. VR, anything you want to leave our audience with?
Yeah, here's a couple things that I'm seeing later on this. Let me give you some later game action real quick, because I love you guys, and we got all kind of stuff. The Seahawks, that's what I wanted to share. The Seahawks are laying the 6.5. They're laying juice, willing to lay up to 120 to get 6.5. But more importantly, they're also betting the Denver team total under 17.5, under 17. So here's a game where they're expected. Not only did they bet Seattle to cover, but then they bet Denver to not put a lot of points up. I love when I see that, because you kind of see the correlation in it, and it almost seems like a way to get more money down by spreading out your risk a little bit. So I like when I saw both those bets
too. Yeah, I have way too many Seahawks survivors, way too many betting against my Denver Broncos this week. That does make me very happy. And you're right, I saw that Denver team total as well. I got under 17.5. A little juice. It was minus 130 this morning, a little risk adverse, but I did tail them on that as well. Okay, hit the ground running. We got about 90 seconds before we bring in the Prez.
Jets on Monday night. This team was -6 in turnovers. 8 of those were fumbles. They were -8 in fumbles. So without that -8 in fumbles, the Jets would have actually had a positive turnover differential. So it shows you how unlucky this team really got last year. Forget the fact that they lost their quarterback 4 plays into the season. They were as unlucky as you could get. So if karma, if the universe owes anybody, it's this New York Jets team. And guess what? On the other side of the ball, they're looking at a San Francisco team that was plus double digits in turnovers. That's like the perfect storm. A team that got lucky, a team that got unlucky, meeting in week 1 with the dog getting more than a field goal. I love the Jets. Don't be afraid to sprinkle a little something on that money line as well. Go Jets Monday night.
Yes, I like the Jets to get the win as well. Thank you to VR at Greek_Gambler on all of your social channels. He's doing a great job over on TikTok and Instagram as well, giving you guys lots of free action, not only in college football, NFL, but of course also the UFC. All right, yesterday I said we had a special guest. I was shocked. I didn't think this guy got out of bed this early in the morning. Every single day we have him here on Wager Talk. Wager Talk today. Let's bring in the Prez to take us home. Sorry, Prez, I got to make jokes. I know you're always on vacation, and You wanted to be here for our very first edition of NFL's Last Call, and I appreciate you so much. Oh, and he's muted. This is just like doing Wager Talk today with him. How wonderful. Oh, you're muted. Oh, boy. Okay, well, this is super fun. We're going to get Prez to answer your question. So while we're waiting for Prez to get unmuted, we are going to drop some questions in the chat. We have 29 minutes, guys, until kickoff. So you guys dictate this show. It's kind of similar to Adam Trigger. If you guys are asking questions, I let them talk up until game time. If you guys only have a few, we don't. We're going to see if we can bring back in the Prez. Does he have a microphone?
He's reconnecting.
He's reconnecting. Okay, we got Prez reconnecting. And we're going to see, Cal, if you can only make one. Okay, so I gave this out earlier in the week. I really love the Bucs today. I should say I gave this out even earlier than that. Oh, hello, Prez.
Cal, I wasn't muted. I've been sitting here. I listened to the entire show. I was never muted, but I understand I understand the need to be muted because I don't shut up. So I think that was God muting me. But anyway,
God definitely has muted you several times in your life. I love that.
Totally, but I swear I wasn't muted. I'm excited to be here. What an incredible show. Over 300 and something listeners. I just hit the like button and it reminded me.
Thank you.
Guys, join me. Join me on hitting that like button, please. We got to get Kelly double the likes that I get on my regular show because, well, she's double as good. So please hit those like buttons for us.
Prez is very entertaining. I think I enjoy Teddy more only because Teddy is so angry most of the show. His bet on it dichotomy versus Wager Talk today is really funny to see. But if you guys have not got a chance to check out Wager Talk today, Prez hangs out with you guys every single day, Monday through Friday, 12 Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific. And he does the weekly presidential address. And that's because besides the NHL, the NFL is his bread and butter. So we're going to answer all of your NFL questions today. Prez, as you pop back on, I was giving out the Bucs. I gave this one out earlier in the summer. I laid 4. Then I came back and I said, you know what? I'm going to use them in the contest 3.5 as well. I do like this Bucs defense. We're going to get a little bit of weather here in Central South Florida. I don't even know technically. There's a dividing line. Tampa's probably it. So we'll call it Central Florida. But I do think there's going to be a lot of run game. You have a rookie quarterback with his first start in the NFL on the road against a solid defense. I think it's a perfect spot to lay it with the Bucs. And I will say this, Prez, I'm in a absolute ton of survivor pools, and I decided to use the Bucs in a few of my splash pools. Splash.com, tons of overlays over there, and it's also available in Canada now.
Yeah, well, firstly, I joined your survivor pool on Splash, so thank you for organizing that, Kelly. I got 2 teams. Vivian has 2 teams. Carmine has 2 teams. So we completely supported you. As for this Washington game, you know, my initial reaction was actually on the Commanders. I don't buy into this Bucs team, but after I handicapped this game, I pulled away from the Commanders, and I actually like over the total. I do agree that we're going to see some running, but man, this Washington defense is horrible. It was horrible last year. They've done nothing to fix it. I actually think they might be worse than they were last year. I think the Bucs are going to get some, and I'm really liking Jaden Daniels, and this Washington team has offensive weapons everywhere. So my initial reaction was Washington. I don't mind the Commanders. I'm neither here nor there on the side, but I do lean on the over, and we are seeing money come in on the under. So, you know, there's a 41.5 out there. If I were to bet this game, and I'm not, I would lean on the over.
Ooh, Prez has the Wager Talk odds screen open, wt.buzz/odds. Make sure you guys are shopping around. We have all of the major sports books on there. Prez, Matt Hudson wants to know if you still like the Cowboys today. Up to 2.5. They're on the odds screen. 41.5 is the total. Prez, I don't know what to make of this game. I checked in with Chase Marino from the Westgate Superbook. He said, Cal, we're not going to know what we need till about 20 minutes before kick.
Yeah. Yeah, so let me start by saying that I did release a teaser to my clients and a two-team 6-point teaser. Dallas is in that teaser, so I did get them at plus 8.5. But in regards to betting this game at plus 2.5, Kelly, this line was really one of the more baffling lines to me. You know, a lot of people, and I had a comment on Wager Talk today a few days ago, Cleveland is the best defense in the league. Now, I don't know. I'm new to this betting thing. I've only been doing it for 35 years. So some would argue that's new. I'm positive that points are the only thing that counts on the score. I'm not familiar with the score being kept on total yardage. Cleveland's defense is middle of the pack. I understand that they kept teams to the least amount of yards gained on them last year, but that's an irrelevant statistic when it comes to the score. They have allowed middle of the pack scoring on them all year, over 21 points allowed last year. Dallas, their defense is much better than this Cleveland Browns defense. Dallas's offense is much better than this Cleveland Browns offense. Dallas last year started week 1, New York Giants 40-0. They beat them 40 points to 0. This Cleveland Browns team is not nearly as good as everyone thinks. Deshaun Watson is going to end up being what we'll call a franchise killer. That contract is disgusting. He has shown nothing whatsoever to prove that he is a capable quarterback anymore in this league. I think Dallas can win this game outright. I know the pundits and talking heads are not high on Dallas this year. I don't understand why. They're no different to how they played last year, and they ended up 12-5. I think this Dallas team is way better than Cleveland on both sides of the field, and I see no reason why they can't win this game outright. I would take the points all day long.
My fantasy team would be very happy with that. We have 2 Cowboys players, Prez. Dak Prescott, we'll see. I have some concerns.
Just signed a big contract.
Yeah, he did, which is wild that they the Cowboys waited for their 2 best players right up until the deadline. Patrick Keelty, thank you for giving us all the time to help us learn. We appreciate you. That's what we're doing here at Wager Talk, guys. We want to help make you betters. Prez does that every single week on Wager Talk today with Teddy, 12 p.m. Eastern. Prez always says Jacksonville. Yeah, it is funny. Bull is a very Southern thing, Prez. I've learned that since living in the South, the bull instead of Ville. I say Ville, but you say bull. You're Canadian. Where's the bull come from?
I don't know, Kel. I don't know where the A comes from either. You know, everyone's like, Canadians say A after every sentence.
Yeah, just guys like Uncle Ben.
I don't know.
Real Canadians say A.
I don't know, but I do want to jump in and say something important because I did listen to the Chase segment. And by the way, Chase, if you're listening, thank you so much for giving Wager Talk your time. Somebody talked about the difference between 3 and 3.5, and I just wanted to give you an answer from a mathematical perspective. It is 8%. So the difference between if you're at minus 3.5 and you're buying down to 3, or you're at 3 and you're buying down to 2.5, it's worth 8 cents. So if you're paying any more than 8 cents, please do not buy that half point. And trust me, you'll be paying more than 8 cents. So the bottom line, Kel, is never buy a half point.
I would agree. Half point buying is kind of like teasing college football. Those are things we do not do. If you guys have a question for Prez, we're going to answer some more games. We've got 20 minutes until kickoff. Prez, give yourself a little promo. You don't do this very often over at Wager Talk and on Wager Talk today because you're hosting and you give everybody else the opportunity. But I want to give you a few seconds to promote yourself.
Yeah, so I had a dreadful summer, Kelly. And you know what? It was good timing because 20% of our client base bets in the summer, and I just couldn't get going. My baseball was horrible. But I think I've heated up in the perfect time. I've won 5 of my last 6 days of betting. I had a 3-in-1 day yesterday in college football. My big bet yesterday was Washington State. It was an easy winner. I did lose on Appalachian State. Clemson finally decided to show up. So I'm coming into today really hot, and I got a big card. I got 6 bets for my clients today, 2 teasers, 2 ATS bets, and 2 totals. And my ATS bets, Kelly, last year against the spread, regular season, 75%. Over the last 2 years, 65%. So I'm really excited about NFL football. And I do have a promo you guys can use, Prez 10. That's PREZ 10. You get $10 off of my package today. And I'm really excited. The NFL it's so amazing, and I have so much excitement until it isn't, and then I want it to end. It's like Vegas. I get so excited going, and I get so excited leaving. It is an all-consuming sport for me, but now I am not burned out yet. So I'm pumped for today.
I am too pumped for today, Prez. We have waited all summer for this. Nick wants to know Bucs Bengals money line parlay. Said it pays, you got to lay a little over 110 to get that one. I am not a money line parlay person when it is regards to favorites, Prez. I like the underdogs. But look, are the Pats really going to walk into Cincinnati and win this game?
No. And whether Chase plays or not is irrelevant. Cincinnati's my survivor pick in the Circa contest. By the way, Seattle and Buffalo are my survivor picks in Kelly's Splash. As for this game, I actually have a client bet on this game that I'm happy to give out right now on your show. And that is the team total for New England, under 16.5 points. Now, it is slightly juiced. It was minus 125. And I think you can get under 17.5 for minus 160. I actually, mathematically, the better bet is under 16.5. And the bottom line here, Kelly, is this Pats team averaged under 14 points a game last year. 14 points a game. Now, I understand they had no quarterback last year, but they don't have a quarterback this year either. I'm not a fan of Jacoby Brissett, and I think they're going to play an unbelievably conservative offense. I actually believe that the New England Patriots will play the most conservative offense in the entire league all year. I think we're going to see them run much more than they pass. I think their passes are going to be short dink and dunks. But more importantly, I think they might have the best secondary in all of football. And they are going to cause their opponents to get first downs on 3 plays. In other words, sure, Cincinnati is going to pass the ball long. Cincinnati is going to move the ball. They will have those, first down, and then it's another first down on the first play. But on average, I think it's going to take Cincinnati 2.5 downs to get a first down all game long. So when I look at this game, I see the New England Patriots defense keeping Cincinnati on the field. Now, one would say, well, wait a minute, aren't they supposed to get Cincinnati off the field? They're going to keep them on the field for 2 to 3 first downs a drive, and then Cincinnati will stutter and stagnate down in the red zone and maybe end up with more field goals than touchdowns. So we have the Patriots offense who's going to keep their offense on the field with slow, methodical drives, and the Patriots defense keeping Cincinnati's offense on the field, causing slow, methodical drives. I like under 16.5 for the New England team total. I do like under on the whole game, but I could see Cincinnati putting up 27, 28 points here. So I prefer the team total under in the New England Patriots game.
Yeah, it would appear that the Bengals are going to be the most popular in every single survivor pool. I can't wait till the splash pool closes here in the next 15 minutes. We'll see what it looks like over there. I did use the Bengals in a couple. I felt like it kind of, this is how John Murray described it to me on Kelly and Murray Prez. Use the Bengals if you want to survive. You pick another team if you want to try to win the whole damn thing. And I said, you know what? I've got 10 on Splash. I've got 10 in Circa. I'm just going to sprinkle a couple of Bengals just in case all hell breaks loose with Seattle and the Bucs. So we got a couple more questions. Go ahead.
So I was just going to say, I've tried this long-term strategy approach to Survivor 2 years in a row, and I was out in the first week both years. If I was trying that again, I would have gone with the Saints. However,
Ooh.
I have decided, because I think this might be one of the only times you're really going to be able to take the Saints.
That's a
So
very
if I
good
was
point.
using, yep.
No, I usually don't like to touch divisional games, so I didn't even consider them. But that is a very good point. This is probably the week to use the Saints if you're going to do it.
Right. If you're playing on that long-term keep team strategy. Teddy and I delved deep into Survivor strategy, I think on Thursday's show. And my attitude is get through September and then long-term strategize. So I'm taking the biggest favorite on the board, and that's Cincinnati. And I think they win the game. I think they cover the spread. And full disclosure, they're in another one of my teasers, another Wong teaser opportunity where you can go from what was 8 to 2. Now I think you got 7.5 to 1.5, which still crosses both 7 and 3.
Prez giving out all the free stuff today. I love to see it. MJM0863. Prez, what are your thoughts on the Lions game? Sunday night, Lions are up to 5. Holy cow. WagerTalk odds screen is lighting up right now. That is crazy to see. Now, I played the Lions early in the week, Prez, in a couple of my pick'em pools. I did not get to the window with them actually with my hard-earned money. I only have 4 plays today, and of course, well, they're all underdogs except for the Bucs.
Kelly, from a side perspective, I'm gonna just tell you 2 quick things. One, I prefer the Lions. Now, the problem
What's going on, people?
is Joe Ranieri.
What is happening?
I don't know. Joe Ranieri's chiming in. I don't know if the audience can hear him or not, but Prez, keep going with your breakdown.
Okay, so the problem here with the Detroit Lions, which I like, but no way am I betting them at -5 now, is ultimately the Rams lost. The Detroit ended the Rams season in the playoffs. It is a terrible bet to bet on a team who ended another team's season in the playoffs over a 20, 30-year period. Now, Baltimore had their season ended by KC, and making Baltimore an interesting bet. Obviously, they didn't cover, and obviously that happens. But when you're looking at the Detroit Lions tonight, I would say be super careful taking the Lions here. If anything, I would probably sprinkle a small amount on the Rams now that we have 5s on tap. But from a side perspective, there's just no reason to make a bet on this game.
Yeah, I think at this point, the value on the Lions is gone. Prez, one thing that Marco did say on this week's Bet On It show was something you can't quantify, but playoff revenge. You're right. It did not work out on Thursday night. We'll see how it plays out for Sunday night football. We've got 11 minutes to kick off. I'm getting my phone blown up. I want to get in some last minute bets, so I'm going to kick you out of here. But first, I want you to leave our audience with a little Prez euphemism, if you will. Again, every single day of the week, you can catch him and Teddy, Wager Talk today, 12 p.m. Eastern, 9 p.m. Pacific, right here on the Wager Talk YouTube channel.
I don't know what you mean by euphemism, but I will tell you this. Guys, it's week 1. Do not step out. Play, grind this entire NFL season out. Don't chase tonight on the Detroit game if you lose during the day. There's no such thing as dates in sports betting. You do not need to make back your losses at night during that day. Play careful. Never bet more than 4%, 5% of your bankroll on any single play, and have a bankroll to start the season instead of just randomly plucking numbers out of your ass.
See? Told you guys he was going to come in with a good one. Make sure you guys are checking out Teddy and the Prez every single day on the Wager Talk YouTube channel. Give them a like. Hit that subscribe button. We appreciate you guys. We're going to be here every single Saturday and Sunday of the college football and NFL season. This has been Wager Talk's Last Call. I'm Kelly Stewart, and good luck today.